Hello, friends. Today's episode is brought to you by From Within Records. I hope all of you who were able to make it out to the showcase had a lot of fun. And for anyone who didn't but wanted to grab some merch, you can head over to FromWithinRecords.com to pick up the leftovers that are still available. I know the blue hat sold out. The record release variant for Rebirth is sold out. So if you're interested, please head over to FromWithinRecords.com and grab something before it's too late. And for everyone who was looking forward to seeing Statement of Pride in California, trust me, I was just as sad as you were that they weren't able to make it. But fingers crossed, they make it out sooner than later. If you're not following From Within Records on social media, please go boot up Twitter, go boot up Instagram, click that follow button, stay up to date on all the current news. And like I always say, please support From Within Records because they support us. If you're looking for high quality merch for your band or for your business, please hit up my friends over at Good Fortune Printing out of Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. You can follow them on Instagram at Good Fortune Printing. Or if you want to get in contact with them, please email them contact@goodfortuneprinting.com. You can thank me later. Before we get into today's guests, we're about a week and a half out from ITZY returning to California, which I'm so excited for. I bought my tickets resale. So check this out. I bought my tickets resale because I tried to get them retail. Wasn't too bummed about not being able to secure good tickets because I was like, I'm always on the fence about ITZY, right? I definitely have never claimed to be a mid-C, even though I probably am at this point. But I'm always on the fence. Like, I'm not going to go. And then I get this fear of like FOMO because when you sit down and look at their discography, it's good. And I'll never forget when they were scheduled to play the YouTube theater. I was like, man, I have to go. And I don't know anybody except for my friend Nalu. Shout out Nalu from Hawaii. I don't know anybody who likes ITZY that much. So I was just like, I'm not going to go. But then Nalu had hit me. He was like, yo, like I'm rolling out. Like you should definitely go. So I managed to secure a floor ticket at the YouTube theater, which was awesome. And I'll never forget. I'm surrounded by people that I don't know because Nalu was seated somewhere else. So I was just on the floor surrounded by a bunch of random people. And I was just like, all I want is to hear Not Shy. And I was just thinking, okay, like, is it coming? Is it not coming? And we're like, I feel like the show's about to end. And sure enough, they're like, all right, this is our last song. And I just remember just being so bummed because I'm like, damn, the one song that I wanted to hear, which isn't like a deep cut, right? This is a song that was a single. This was one of their comebacks. So I was like, man, this is kind of sad, but whatever. The show was good. So they announced that they're playing the last song, and right when the song ends, they go into this rock version of Not Shy, and I'll never forget grabbing the guy next to me. It's like Big Simone dude. I did not know him outside of like being like, hey, like, you know, stoked to be, you know, here for ITZY. But outside of that, we didn't know each other, but they played Not Shy and I grabbed him and I started freaking out. And I think he just matched my energy. He didn't care because he could realize that I was just so excited to finally hear this song that I've been wanting to hear for so long. And it was amazing. But got to see them at KCON last year, which was awesome. But this year they're playing at the Forum, right? So it's like every year they come out, they keep doing bigger venues. So I was like, all right, like let's try to get tickets for the Forum. Obviously, trying to get K-pop tickets for retail is nearly impossible. So that didn't happen. But I remember one morning I was just wondering. I was like, man, I wonder how much ITZY tickets are. So I went to one of my favorite websites. This is not a ad or whatever. I go to SeatGeek.com. Shout out David Dobrik. And I saw someone selling a second row ticket, right? This is second row in the Forum. For anyone who's been to the Forum for a concert, it's kind of a big deal. Someone was selling their second row ticket, middle of the aisle, for it was $436, and that is a lot of money. But when you think about in terms of K-pop resale tickets, that's on the low end, surprisingly. But trust me, I know it's a lot of money in terms of like normal tickets. But when you're talking like resale K-pop tickets, that was very low. So at that point, I was like, I got to do this, because if I don't, I know I'm going to get that FOMO and I'm going to end up wanting to go, and I'll end up buying a ticket at some point. But this isn't going to be available again. So I pulled the trigger, and all my friends were like, all right, have fun. We're not going. But as we're getting closer and closer, they're starting to feel that FOMO, and they're like, hey, like, where's your seat for ITZY? And I'm like, dude, I'm second row. I tried telling everybody, like, there's these second row tickets, go grab them. Nobody listened. Now, like, I'm second row center, right? So I'm section H, which is right in front of the stage. So it's going to be an amazing time. And there's when I checked resale like the other day, the closest seat to me was like row 3, but it was being sold for like $1,400. So tickets gone up because people were sleeping on ITZY. Granted, their future is always up in the air, because there's like, their comebacks aren't as impactful as some of the other girl groups under JYP. Like, you know, NMIXX is catching up very fast, which is could be good and bad. I don't know, but shout out NMIXX. The last comeback was amazing, and they're slated to come back very soon. And also Twice, right? Twice is arguably top 3 K-pop group of all time. But when you look at Twice, right, they've been solid from start to finish, right? With every comeback, it's just like bigger and bigger, and they're just gaining, you know, more and more fans. And same thing with NMIXX. I feel like NMIXX people were kind of just like confused at what they're trying to do, but I think the last couple comebacks, they've like kind of like found their sound, and people are realizing like, yo, like this group is like a real contender. Like Party O'Clock, like I'm still obsessed with that song. But then even like some of their B-sides on the last album are insane. But with ITZY, it's a whole different story. Like some of their comebacks have just been very questionable, and it feels like, you know, they did a push to, you know, do these English singles that were not like received that well, in my opinion. They just sounded very, very weird. Not my favorite stuff, but it's different when you hear it live. But yeah, I feel like they've been rocky. Then obviously with Leah taking a break or hiatus, that's never a good sign, right? Because obviously you want all your members to stay united, and when members are starting to take breaks and they're missing comebacks, they're missing tours, it's kind of a rocky situation. And obviously you want the artists to take care of their health first, but usually when that stuff starts to happen, leads to members leaving, or the group or the member in the company, you know, mutually, quote unquote, mutually part ways, which we never like to see happen, right? We would love to see them all stay together. That's why I'm always blessed when I think about Twice. They have 9 members. They've gone through, you know, certain members have gone through their stuff, but they've stuck around, right? They've been through it, but they're still here. OT9 forever. But I'm just curious for the future of ITZY, but I don't want to take them for granted. So that's why I pulled the trigger, even though I wasn't like super like sad that I didn't get tickets at the very beginning, but I knew it was the right move to eventually grab those resales, because I knew I couldn't miss ITZY. And here's like an origin story for ITZY and why they should probably be a lot higher on my K-pop rankings, my internal list that I'll release one day when it's all said and done. But when I first got into K-pop, like obviously Twice was the group that got me into it, But the first K-pop album that I ever bought, which it's really kind of hard to see, but it is right here. This is I'm really bad at this, but this album right here is ITZY's Not Shy, and that was the first K-pop album that I've ever bought. And I didn't know anything about like photo cards or anything, so the photo card from that album is actually in the dashboard of my car. It's a Una picture card. So for anybody who gets in my car and you see that Una picture card, it's from that album, and it's the first photo card that I've ever owned, which is a piece of history. So I should probably take better care of that. It's all sun damaged because it's been in there for years. But ITZY was the first K-pop album that I ever bought, and that's why I hold Not Shy in such a special place in my heart, because not only is like the song fucking amazing, the music video is amazing, the song is a bop, but it was there in my early days because Twice was in between comebacks and Not Shy had just come out. So I was at the store when I was like, oh, are K-pop stores a thing? And sure enough, they are. And I went, and that was the first one that I grabbed because that was like what I was rocking with at the time. So shout out to ITZY. Hopefully you're all there. I am going to make a sign, which I don't want to spoil because it's going to be a really cool one, but it has to do with the leader. So that's all I'll say for now. But once I get the sign made, I'll definitely show it at some point before we head to the concert. But I hope to see all of you there. Or if you're like, Jamie, what are you talking about? What is ITZY? I've never even heard of that. Do yourself a favor. Go look up ITZY. Go listen to Not Shy. Go listen to Mafia in the Morning. Dynamite off the new album is like the one song that I cannot wait to hear live. It's going to be a good time. But ITZY's awesome. So please support them while we still can. But okay, on today's episode, we had to track down our good friend Neff. Sings for an awesome band coming out of Buffalo, New York. Right? Shout out Buffalo. Shout out Spaced. Shout out Scott Vogel. Shout out Rhinoceros. Shout out all cool things in Buffalo. But we had to track down our good friend Neff. Like I said, sings for a band called Jeweltone, which I was put onto by our good friend Donnie Arthur, who plays in Spaced. Shout out Spaced. And they put out an awesome demo in 2023. And at the time, Donnie had reached out to me and was like, yo, like, you should definitely check this band out. I think they're really good. You should maybe try to have them on the podcast at some point. I think it'd be really cool. And respect to Donnie, I checked out the demo and I was like, damn, this is pretty sick. And I was definitely impressed because I could tell by just the songwriting that this had been like, put together by people who are experienced, because it was a demo, but I could tell that it wasn't their first rodeo. So listen to the demo, and I've been wanting to have Neff on for a while, but it just, with timing, I just wanted it to feel right. And when I was, booking for the podcast, I was like, all right, I want to reach out to Jeweltone finally, just to see who would be down and to talk about the band. And Neff came on, and getting to talk to Neff was awesome because obviously getting to hear all about Jeweltone was really fun. But then getting to talk about and break down all the other cool things that he has going on in Buffalo. So just getting to hear about, his solo project and getting to talk about all this like artsy stuff. It was real fun for me to be able to get to know Neff better and to hear about, like I said, all the other cool things going on in Buffalo. Because when I think a lot about these cities across the world, like hardcore is the first thing on the list. Because I'm like, all right, cool. Like this city has an awesome hardcore scene. But when I find out that there's a whole bunch of other cool stuff going on out there, it's just like, damn, I want to get out there, obviously for hardcore, but then just knowing that there's a cool hip hop scene, or they're diving heavy into fashion, like things that I'm not even super knowledgeable about, but I can appreciate people who are just as passionate about other arts, and it gets me excited to be able to just kind of experience that and learn about other things, because I'm all about gaining knowledge. Right here at the Jamie RK podcast, I always say that I don't know everything, and I'm not afraid to ask questions. So to be able to gain knowledge is a fun thing for me. So if you're not familiar with Jeweltone, I highly suggest you hit pause, go boot up Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, YouTube, wherever. Not Bandcamp. It's not on Bandcamp for some reason. But everywhere else, go stream Jeweltone. Go stream the demo, which is awesome. And when you listen to the podcast, you're going to find out that there's new music coming soon this year, which we can all get excited about. But do that and come back here, listen to Neff and I talk about all things Buffalo. It was fun, and I'm looking forward to doing it again. So please, strap in, enjoy this conversation. Without further ado, welcome Neff to the show. All right, and we're recording. Welcome to the podcast, Neff. How's it going?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm stoked to have you on. I'm a fan of Jeweltone, but then when I just kind of looked at your Instagram and just kind of see what you have on there, I'm like, wow, this guy just seems way more interesting than just Jeweltone. So I'm excited to have you on just to hear about everything that you have going on.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm excited to be talking to you.
Okay, so let's start with were you long time or lifetime in Buffalo, or how did you end up in Buffalo?
Yeah, I'm born and raised Buffalonian. Been here all my life.
Okay, that's awesome. Obviously a huge fan of the music scene, and I found out about Jeweltone because of our mutual friend Donnie. He actually he hit me up a while back. He's like, "Yo, like you got to check out this new band from our area," and I was like, "All right, cool." Like I obviously love recommendations, but when I listened to Jeweltone, I was like pleasantly surprised. I was like, "Okay," I think they have something here. So this is actually really cool. So I knew from the very beginning that I wanted to, have somebody from the band on the podcast, but just with this whole thing, it just took me a while to finally get you guys on. But I'm happy that you're here today.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm happy to be talking to you. And Donnie, man, Donnie's the guy. Donnie, I owe Donnie a lot. Donnie introduced me to Christian, which started Jeweltone. So Donnie's a cool ass too, for sure.
Okay, and can we start there? Can you talk about the origin of Jeweltone and how that all came together?
Yeah. I could kind of go way back. So I've been making hip hop in Buffalo for quite a while, and I knew Donnie through that. He would be at some hip hop shows, and he also does tattoos around here. So we just knew of each other, and we actually did a hip hop and hardcore collaboration show a couple summers ago. It was called Secret Subculture, and I think just Donnie and a couple other people just liked how I performed. When I rap live, I'm going full energy mode. So, Donnie, he kept saying man, it'd be cool to get you an hardcore band one day. And, we would talk back and forth for probably a year or so. And then one day he hit me up and I went to a show with him. I think it was Terror was performing in Buffalo. So I went to a Terror show with Donnie, and he introduced me to Christian, and he was like, "Look, I want you guys to sit down and, see if it works out." So then I started hanging with Christian, and Jordan, our drummer, was also friends with Christian, and Jordan, Christian, and Donnie actually used to be in a band called Burn Book together. So I linked with Christian and Jordan, and Christian had a couple demos laid out, and we tested it out together. We had good chemistry, and then we just kind of kept it moving from there.
I think it's pretty awesome to, obviously to get linked up with somebody and to have it work out, right? Because for me, with that kind of situation, it's kind of wow, I hope I click with these people, right? Because I feel like that has to be a really important factor. Is obviously you want to click, with the music, but I feel also on a personal level as well.
Yeah, for sure. That it was an interesting experience for me. I was in a hip hop group, but we were really two vocalists and two producers. But I was never necessarily like in a band. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
we were in a band. I had performed live instruments before, but just like one off gigs. Like I've never really been in a band like that until Jeweltone. So um, yeah, I was interested to see how like that would go, but we clicked right away, and it was cool. I was definitely a novice coming in, so like I guess I was a bit nervous to see if I was even able to keep up with those guys. You know what I mean? Because like Jordan and Christian, like they've been doing this for a while. Like they're wizards with it. Um, yeah, but we clicked and it went well, and they liked how I sounded, and then I just kept practicing, kept asking Christian and Donnie for advice, and just kept like fine tuning it, and it worked out.
And
I,
oh, sorry. When Donnie took you to that Terror show to meet them, how many hardcore gigs had you been to before that?
a couple, like we had done two hip hop and hardcore shows.
Mm-hmm.
So I had, I'd been to those, and I got a friend Mitch who's also a rapper, but he would go to a lot of hardcore shows. Sometimes I would go with him. I saw Spaced a couple times, so I would probably say I've been to like, I would say like 7 to 10 shows before the Terror show, just because like the hardcore community in Buffalo, it's booming, so it's good to go and it's good to meet people, and I have a lot of mutual friends who participate. So
Yeah, and now you're a part of it, right? Because you're a big contributor with this new band.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And writing the demo, can you talk about what that process was like? Because for you to come in and meet these guys, and obviously I feel like these like relationships are all new and building at the same time. Can you talk about what that was like for you?
Yeah, that was a great experience. It was a learning experience because I won't hide it. Like with hardcore and me coming into it, definitely a novice. You know what I mean? I'm coming into something that is super established and respect it, and I just wanted to come in and kind of like coming in from hip hop. I wanted to give the community the proper respect of me even being like involved in this and like suddenly being in a band. So like, there was a lot of learning I had to do, and a lot of research and talking to Christian and having conversations. And Christian sent me a long list of his favorite bands to study and get my ear accustomed to. And then me and Christian, we wrote the demo together, which was a really good experience for me too, because for me, I was so used to writing as a rapper and like writing songs that way. It's not necessarily the same writing process. Like everything is different. So I almost had to like relearn how to write like within hardcore, having like rapper brain and normally like breaking things down that way how I normally do. So it took some adjusting, but I had Christian there working with me and giving me feedback, and yeah, we were able to get it going.
And I'm also curious too, like how long did it take you to like find your voice, right? Because I feel like with hardcore you could have gone down a bunch of different paths, in terms of vocal style. But how did you land on the way you do it, for the band? Because I think it's awesome.
Thank you, I appreciate that. That was kind of like where like the miracle came in almost. Like it just happened naturally. Like there wasn't too much of me having to force it. Like I have a certain energy when I perform rap vocals anyway. So I think I was able to do that, but just like a bit more intensified, and it worked. And we actually recorded the demo tape. We recorded it 3 times actually. The first time, it wasn't at a whole professional studio. We just wanted to demo out the demo almost, and to see how we were sounding together. And that went well. And Christian was impressed, and we listened to it a bit more, and we were like, all right, we want to get this recorded at an actual studio. And then when we did it that time, that was a big learning lesson for me, because the second time we went to actually record it, I I took things like a little too far with how I was approaching the demos. Like I was really screaming as opposed to like what you've heard from the actual demo.
Mm-hmm.
And it was cool and it sounded good, but like I'll never forget, Donnie was with us a lot, just giving us feedback. And I had a phone call with Donnie and he was like, this is great, but I actually really love how you were doing it before. Like that was where, you know, I think you should be. So then we listened to it and I agreed. And then we went back in there and I just like toned it down a bit to it being more like natural to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was perfect from there. So in terms of like finding my voice, that came really quick. It was just like the smaller details of it that I had to find some.
And I'm just curious, if you wouldn't have gotten that feedback, do you think that you guys would have just like proceeded with the second recording?
That's a good question. I think there was something like, I think deep down we knew there was something a little off about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, we put the work in. So, you know, 2 days of being fresh out the studio, like we were excited to have it done. But definitely in me, there was something where I was like, man, like this is cool, but like there was something really special about the first time I tried to record it compared to now, and like something is missing here. So it was like really early on, where Donnie gave us his opinion on it. But I think we would have had the conversation and we would have went back no matter what. It was just Donnie was quick to be like, wait a minute, you know, you might want to like really reconsider this type of thing.
Yeah, when I listened to the demo, I feel like since it's like it comes out so natural, I feel like that's like a great way to stand out because your voice, you know, is unique. So yeah. I like when I hear it, it's like, okay, like I know if I heard you like on a feature or heard you somewhere else, I'm like, okay, like that's Neff, like that would stand out to me because, you know, sometimes with these hardcore records, you know, screaming and yelling, you know, things could, you know, sound very similar, but I like that you went and like toned it back. So now it's like, okay, like, you know, I feel like it's just like that signature sound that's yours.
Exactly. And that was the whole point of us, like even going back, like that was the thing, like, yeah, it's good, but like it's before it was you and now it's almost becoming something else. So that was like the feedback that was like, okay, I gotta go in and just approach it naturally so I can have that recognizable voice and we can have our own style, you know?
100%. And you know, there's 6 tracks on the demo, which is a lot for a demo because, you know, most demos maybe 3 or 4 songs.
Yeah.
You know, whose idea was it to be like, all right, like let's go for 6? And I know there's like a, you know, an instrumental on one, but I was just curious about, you know, the amount of music that you guys put out, you know, just for a demo.
Yeah, it was Christian's, man. Christian is I have so much trust in Christian. Like he's been like just a great leader and a great visionary for everything we've done with Jeweltone. So that was Christian spearheading like how we approach the demo with how many tracks and the layout of it all for sure.
Okay, yeah, and credit to them too, because when, you know, Donnie had you know, hit me up, he was like, yo, check this band out. I was just like, man, like I don't know anybody in the band, right? Like before, you know, we got here, I've never talked to anybody in the band, but I was like, damn, these guys sound like they know what they're doing. Because sometimes I'll listen to like a new band, it's their first demo, maybe their first band, and you can be like, all right, like you could tell that it's like, you know, that like something that they've like just first put out. But when I listen to Jeweltone, I'm like, okay, this is their demo, but it sounds like they know what they're doing. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's just goes to show, like, just Christian and Jordan, like they're both veterans. Jordan's also in a metal band called Dishonored from Buffalo, and he's just an amazing drummer, you know. And Christian is amazing on the bass and the guitar. So
credit to them. And then also, like, when you're putting together this demo, when you're hearing all the instrumentals, like, you know, how stoked are you? 'Cause you're like, oh shit, like I get to, you know, like put vocals on top of all this.
Yeah, I was so excited just to, you know, because before we laid it out, we would just get up and practice it all and like rehearse it together. So just to hear it go from that to like the finished product in the studio was awesome. And I was there for every time they laid it out too. So that was just my first experience even watching instruments get tracked in the studio. So that was cool as hell for me to be there for.
And if you can remember from like the you know, start of writing the demo to when it actually, you know, got finished with the third time, do you remember how long that process actually took?
Like from the very start to the finished product.
Yeah.
Probably we didn't really space it out. Like there wasn't time of us like sitting on it and waiting for a while. Like we just like went right at it. So it was probably like a month and a half process. You know, the first time we practiced a lot, and then the first time we tried to record them, like a couple weeks after that, we got right in the studio, and then after that second attempt, maybe just because there was booking wise, we had to wait like a week or two to get back in there, but we went at it right away. You know, there was no like waiting and trying to get it off the ground.
Okay. And I'm also just curious too, the band's name, where does that come from?
Yep, that was Christian. So we actually, that was one of our biggest challenges, like actually coming up with a name, to be honest with you. It seemed like we were going for the name Smile and Wave, which is the last track on our demo tape. And right when we were preparing to, you know, get some font made up for it and just really run with the name Smile and Wave, we found out there was another band. I forget what city they were in, but basically we found another band that had just released their demo tape with the name Smile and Wave. So we're like, man, and that kind of deflated us in the moment. So we had to come up with something else. And Christian just really liked the name Jewel, but there's another band named Jewel. So yeah, we went with Jeweltone, and it just clicked. It flowed off the tongue, and it felt right, and we went with it.
And who designed the artwork for the demo?
Our boy Saul did. He's actually in a band called Gato Black, but yeah, he's Christian's good friend. He almost played bass with us for Jeweltone shows, but you know that falls through. But cool dude, good friend of Christian's. Christian actually plays in his band with him too.
Okay, yeah, because when I look at the demo art, I'm just like, okay, this is interesting, because it just seems like very like fitting after I listen to the music, but when I look at it, I'm just like, I don't know what I'm like, you know, in store for.
Yeah, what I'm getting into.
Yeah,
yeah, like that.
Yeah, and you know, do you have like a full-time bass player? Because I like, you know, in the promo pics, it's normally just like the three of you, from what I've seen.
Yep. So our homie Dags, Mike Dags, he plays bass with us for the most part when we do shows. He kind of just plays shows with us for now.
Mm-hmm.
When we first started out, it was really just a 3-piece, me, Christian, and Jordan. And then for shows, Dags joins us.
And is there going to be a time maybe Dags goes full time, or are you in search of a bass player?
Oh, that's a good question. Like me personally, like I love playing with Dags. Like we've gone up to Canada with him so many times to do shows, and like that's my guy. It's really just like a life work issue, you know, in terms of like that full-time commitment. But I would love for that to happen, you know. For sure.
And can you talk about Dream House? Because I'm just so curious, because on the third track, you know, Dream House is there, and I tried doing some research, but I wasn't sure if I clicked on the right Dream House on Spotify.
Yeah, it's a little mysterious too. That's actually Jordan. Funny enough, he is super talented. You know, he does drums for us, and he does drums in Dishonor. But Dream House is his alter ego, his producer name, his DJ name. He does like really cool. Man, I don't even know necessarily how to describe the specific genre of what he does with Dream House, but it's really cool. Like what's on the demo tape is kind of the style of what he does at Dream House. Like he'll do live DJ sets under the Dream House alias with like with a whole TV setup and a VHS tape, like playing old VHS movies and cartoons when he does his Dream House sets. It's really cool, and we wanted, I don't know, like something about that instrumental that's on the demo tape. It felt like our theme music just for the three of us, and we wanted it on there and work. People loved it too. It was just like a great intermission that comes in the middle of the tape.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely dig it, and it's cool to see that on a demo too, because you know most times people want to save that for like maybe like a a full length, more of like a, big release, but to include that, I thought it was awesome. If it fits well, I don't feel like it disrupts the flow when I'm listening to the demo.
Thank you.
And I've watched, a few live sets online, and you guys open with New Scar, which I think is great. I feel like that's a really awesome song to open your set with. Is that how it goes for most of the time? Because I couldn't find any more online.
Oh, we do switch it up. Like lately, we've actually been opening up with an unreleased song, which has been a cool experience. And from there, we go right into New Scar. So we've done different things. Like we used to open up with Surrounded by Snakes, which is the first song on the demo tape.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really just like, we talk about it before the show, and sometimes we want to do something different.
Okay. And speaking of unreleased songs, I read, there was a new artist spotlight you guys were on last year on No Echo, shout out No Echo. And in that spotlight, you guys mentioned that there was, new music being written, but that was over a year ago. So I'm just curious now. You mentioned, playing an unreleased song. What's the status of new music coming from Jeweltone? Because the demo's been out for over a year at this point.
Yeah, close. Our goal is to get something out by July. I mean, we actually have a new song that we submitted for a Buffalo hardcore compilation project that's currently being made.
Awesome. Okay.
So we've submitted that already. That one's recorded, done, and we've actually been performing that song. But we have 5 other songs just about complete, and we're just waiting to get in the studio and really, get them recorded and get that going. So definitely by the end of the summer, we'll have another tape out.
Okay, and so that's real soon, right? Because we're just like about to enter summer, so that's exciting news. And is it just all going to be like all 5 songs, maybe like an EP?
Yeah, we're looking to do an EP.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
I was not expecting that, so now my brain's just turning like, okay, like, do you guys have a name now? I obviously don't want to get too ahead of it because obviously it's still a ways away, but I'm happy to hear that it's way closer than I thought.
Yeah, we've been, worst case scenario to be like early fall, but we're absolutely doing our best to get that out as quick as we can. Like, obviously, like they say that we plan and God laughs, you know what I mean? Like we have a lot of things in the work, and then life happens for the 3 of us in different ways that send us in different directions sometimes, but that's the absolute goal of ours, to get that new EP out as soon as we can.
Okay.
And we're excited. I'm excited. It's like, I love the demo tape, but I was getting comfortable when we wrote and when we made that. And I think now, well, I'll always have growing and learning to do. Like right now I'm at a phase I wasn't at then. Like I feel much more confident and sure of myself, and we have that momentum going. So these new batch of songs we got, I feel really good about.
And I'm also curious, no presence on Bandcamp. Is there a reason for that?
That's a good question. It's something I got to talk to Christian about, to be real with you.
Okay.
But we are, we do have tapes made. We're actually working on getting, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but I'm going to say it. With our new songs that we're working on and the old song from the demo tape, we're working on getting vinyls pressed so we can sell vinyls that have the 5 old songs and the 5 new songs together. So
okay.
That's something we're working on. So maybe then we'll have something where you can order it off Bandcamp. But yeah, we'll figure that out for sure.
Yeah, and you mentioned tapes. You guys, had some tapes come out through Triple Hammer.
Yep, Triple Hammer. Those are the guys. Like they've been really good to us. They're really good to a lot of bands in Buffalo, and they help us out a lot. They get our tapes pressed. They sell a lot of our stuff on their website.
Yeah, I love that you guys went with someone local too, right? Because I just love when I just see that like unity when it comes to these music scenes.
Yep.
And can you talk about did you guys get to pick the color of the tapes, or did you leave that up to Triple Hammer?
Yeah, we got to pick. We got a couple options, and yeah, we chose them.
Yeah, which is awesome to see that the pink one sold out, which is really cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now we got like a chrome glitter one that's going.
Damn, and for a new band too, I think that says a lot too, right? For people to put their money up and be like, all right, cool, like I want to buy a piece of their merch and to sell out the first pressing of tapes. I think that's really sick.
Yeah, thank you. Me too. That's always for me. That's one of my favorite parts of just performing. Like whenever we're done, and I just get to meet people who loved our set or already love our music, and like that just means a lot to see people excited to like buy our tapes or buy our hats or our merch. Like that's one of the favorite parts for me, to meet people and get that feedback from them.
100%. And can you talk about what it was like for you, going up there for the first time, as Jeweltone, and having to perform for a hardcore band?
Yeah, man, it was exciting. It was actually about a year ago. About a year ago was our first show. It was the end of May last year. It was at this venue called Timeless Babes over on like downtown Buffalo. It was great. I was, of course I was nervous, but like it felt natural. Like I was just ready to go and finally perform with them. We were linking up 2 or 3 times a week for like 6 months to a year before that. So I was just ready to get to it, and it felt natural. Obviously, like I've gotten better. We've probably performed like maybe like 7, 8 times now all together. And every time I get more comfortable, and our chemistry gets even better. But that was a great show. It was actually that show, Jordan, who's our drummer, he couldn't make it that show. I forgot what he had going on. So we actually had a fill-in. So our first show, we had a fill-in on the drums, our homie Mike, and it was still a great time.
And over the past year, do you find it like easier to get up there and do that in front of like people for a hardcore band?
Yeah, for sure. Now it's like I think that first time I had fun, don't get me wrong, but that first time I was definitely just like locked in, focused, a little anxious, but now I'm excited to get out there. Now it's just a fun experience for me to be there, and like it's interesting because I've been performing for 7 years now, like with hip hop, and no matter any time I perform, even if mentally I'm not nervous, you just feel that in your body, But I feel like with Jeweltone shows lately, that transition is seamless. Like I'll just be having fun at the show, and the next thing you know, like I'm on stage and we're going. Like there's no anxious build up for me anymore. I'm just ready to get up there,
Yeah, 100%. I always talk about how, the energy from a hardcore show is just different from anything that I've ever, experienced. Because I've been to all sorts of different types of shows, but when you get to a hardcore show, it's a crazy different vibe.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, well, you guys have a show coming up later this week, which is awesome.
We got a show at Block Bats with the bands K-Hole, and then Bad Bets coming down from Canada, excuse me.
Yeah, and I love seeing that crossover, right? Because I feel like you guys are that scene that's right there on the border that it should have strong relationships with people on the other side.
Yeah, man, we love going up to Canada. Like I'm trying to think how many shows we've done in Canada. We've done a good amount of shows in Canada. I think we've done more shows in Canada than we have in Buffalo. Funny enough, we've done like 4 or 5 in Canada, and it's been mad love every time we go up there. Like they just have a whole connecting thing going on, because you got the Toronto scene, you got the Hamilton scene, St. Catharines, Niagara Falls. Like we performed in all 4 of those cities, and every time it's cool seeing somebody we saw in Toronto at the Niagara Falls show or St. Catharines. So like it's great in Canada. It's almost like a second home for us.
Yeah, and what about them coming down? I feel like that would be sick too, right? To see the Canadian audience crossover and support like that.
They have, which is cool. The unfortunate thing, especially with bands from Canada coming down here, it's way easier for us to go up there than it is for them to come down here. Mm-hmm. So that can sometimes cause some issues with Canadian bands coming to Buffalo. But there's always workarounds for everything. So I think more and more lately, I'm seeing a lot of bands come down and perform, and of course that brings the Canadian crowd too.
Okay, and but
they've been, my last point for that, like last last show we had, I saw a lot of Canadian homies there that popped out. It was cool.
Yeah, that's so sick. Yeah, because I've always said, yeah, that if I lived on like a neighboring scene, like that close at it, I would try to make it a thing to be like, yo, like obviously strengthen the local scene, but also you want to have good relations with the neighboring scenes to try to join forces and kind of build out something really cool.
For sure, for sure. Our last show we played in Buffalo, a band from Niagara Falls, Reality Deny, they came down to Buffalo, and they're fucking awesome. So yeah, a lot of people came from Canada to see them, which is great.
Okay, and you have the show that you just mentioned announced. Do you guys plan on taking it easy for the next couple months because you want to figure out recording, or what's your guys' plan?
Pretty much, we're doing this show, which will be fun. And I think I want to say we have one more, like sometime in June. I'm not entirely sure, but we have this show. Then after that, yeah, our main focus is to get these songs finished and recorded.
Okay. Well, damn. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what you guys have, coming up next. Because I think the demo is awesome, and I hope for anybody who is here listening that isn't familiar with the demo definitely goes and checks it out at some point.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm just excited to be able to perform like new songs. To me, that's the most thing I'm excited about. Like getting these songs out. It's like, all right, we've been doing the songs from the demo for quite a bit now, and we always throw something new in there too. But I'm excited to do a whole full set of new stuff that people have never heard before.
Okay, and I'm just curious about you mentioned growing up in the hip hop scene out there. Can you talk about how you got into that kind of music?
Yeah, I've been writing rap since I was like 15, 16, and then when I graduated high school, I kind of started like recording on my own time, and it just naturally progressed. When I was a child, my mom was in a hip hop group. She sang, but she was involved in a hip hop group. So, I would be like 6, 7 years old at the studio with my mom and her friends and watching them do it. So that probably had some type of like effect on me subconsciously. I grew up and started writing, and it just progressed. I met a friend who's my roommate now, and we made a hip hop group together, but he was making music. And, one day he just invited me to the studio with him, and we just had like a natural chemistry and clicked, and we ended up making a group called Freak the Mighty together. And we were both in college at the time. I went to University of Buffalo, and he went to Canisius College, and there was like a really nice professional recording booth in Canisius College that the media classes would use. So he would be able to get us in there. So I would literally leave UB, not do any of my assignments, and link with my homie T at the Canisius studio, and we would just like write and record music. Then we both ended up dropping out of college, and we still would sneak into the Canisius studio and record music for as long as we could. And then it took off. We put some songs out, and it was just like the perfect time with the hip hop scene in Buffalo. Like it kind of had like somewhat of a boom, and I want to say 2017, 2018. And yeah, we put out some songs, and somebody asked to perform, and then the rest was like history for us. Like we just captured a certain time and energy in Buffalo, and Freak the Mighty got a lot of love like pretty rapidly. So like we were one of the first hip hop acts in Buffalo to have people stage diving and going crazy for our shit. So it just put us on and established us here in Buffalo within the hip hop community.
And I'm just curious, like, how did you figure out that you could rap? Because I don't know if anybody out there is, familiar with like trying to rap, but it's actually pretty hard.
Yeah, it is. And I was really bad for the first like 2 or 3 years, to be honest with you. But I just loved it. Like it was therapeutic for me. Like the first rap I ever wrote, I was like mad at some kid in like 10th grade or something. So, I put the pen to paper and like wrote about it. And yeah, it was just therapy. It just helped me. Like I wasn't necessarily like looking for anything out of it when I was just writing, but it just naturally progressed. And like I started to get better and better, and you know, my rhyming got better, the metaphors I was using got better, and it just clicked with me, and then I just kept at it every single day.
And you mentioned that you guys were still sneaking into the college even after you dropped out.
Yeah, we were. Yep.
How did that work? That sounds crazy.
So the building itself you could like walk into, but all the rooms were locked. So when neither of us had access to there anymore, we would honestly just go in the building, and we would camp out until somebody who was already in that media room like left, and then we could go and grab the door, you know. Damn. So a lot of camping out and waiting, a lot of just like, you know, finessing. A janitor walks by, like, "Hey, forgot my pass. Can you let me in the media room? I got a project I got to do." You know, and we would get in. We would figure it out.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Eventually, it did have to stop though, and we ended up kind of just doing like a home studio setup.
Yeah, it's like way more accessible these days. I feel like to have a home studio versus like back in the day.
Yeah, it is for sure. It is.
Yeah, but that's awesome. I love that you guys were still, you know, so dedicated to the music that you're willing to do stuff like that just to make it work.
Exactly. Yeah, we had to. We had a lot of crazy nights in there for sure. We would be there way longer than anybody was even allowed to be in there, you know.
And when you got to the point where you had to, you know, we got to, you know, get our own studio, like what kind of resources did you look to, you know, have that kind of knowledge on what equipment to buy?
Just YouTube and trial and error. Like, you know, as I mentioned, like the first couple of years were rough in terms of like how the music sounded, you know, but I actually, my mom, when she used to make music, she had an engineer who like went on to just gain a lot of knowledge in the field, and he's worked with some big names, and he lives in Buffalo now, and she still had his number. So she shot him a text and was like, "Hey, you know, my son's into music, like, could he possibly record with you, or just like, can you talk to him?" And I did like an internship with him for a couple months and just watched him mix music, and he taught me some stuff. So in that 2-3 months period of time, like I learned I wasn't good at it, but I learned how to do something with mixing vocals. So that was able to kind of like push us to the next step, you know?
Yeah. And that's crazy too, because like I'll watch videos of like, oh, here's Billie Eilish's vocal chain. And there's like all these things that I've never even heard of. I'm like, I don't understand any of this.
Yeah, there's still so much I don't understand. I just recognize shit. I'm like, okay, this makes this sound this way, so let me just do a little more of that, a little more of this, you know.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned, you know, Freak the Mighty. Can you talk about it? Is that still around? Are you guys still doing that?
We're not. We put it to rest about a year ago, last April, and it was nothing, you know, no drama, nothing bad. It was just time for us to move on. Like it served its purpose in Buffalo, and like the last year or so of it, we were both kind of like doing our own thing, like within hip hop. I was kind of going one way. My homie T was the other guy in Freak the Mighty. He was going another way, and it just felt right to kind of like put it to rest. You know, maybe one day in the future we come back to it. Like that's still my best friend. I still live with the guy. But it was just time to put it to rest and to see like what we could do on our own, and then, you know, maybe one day in the future come back and combine the two.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think that's cool, just to be able to, you know, recognize that and you know, go your separate ways, but still be cool, because, you know, a lot of the times people, you know, end on bad terms for like weird reasons or whatever. But it's cool to know that it's not on bad terms.
Thank you. It was a big decision for sure, you know. Definitely something risky, but where me and T like both click, like we both like doing stuff that's unconventional and challenging in the moment. Like it took a lot of guts for us to do it, but it was the right decision, and it pushed both of us into it pushed both of us out of our comfort zone, you know, where we both had to like, okay, like me personally, I'm my most creative when I'm out my comfort zone, and when like I feel like my back's against the wall. So sometimes I think it's good to put yourself in scenarios where your back's against the wall, where you're under pressure, where you're not in that comfort zone, and then magic could happen there. Sometimes you fail too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I feel like it's a good learning lesson, right? To see go out there and do things that you normally wouldn't do because it's maybe not in your routine. I always like to test myself to see what kind of personal growth that I have, right? Because I never want to just stay the same person that I am. Like today, I always I'm always trying to learn and even learn things about myself. So I'm always down for progress. And yeah, I feel like being in uncomfortable situations or trying things for the first time, it can teach you a lot about yourself and even life.
Exactly. I 100% agree.
Okay. And, looking at your Instagram, do you put out like your own solo music?
I do. Yeah, I do. I just recently dropped an EP. It was like, but prior to that, I put out just like a couple of singles like last spring, last summer. But about a month ago, me and a friend of mine who's a producer, like we put out a joint collaboration project, and that was cool. I was out my comfort zone on that too, because he's a wizard. He does like future bass, electronic type of hip hop and synth work, and we collabed. And as a rapper, I was out of my comfort zone, but it created something real cool. The project is called The Dramatic, and yeah, it's hip hop vocals over crazy ass electronic beats.
Yeah, listening to the EP, it was one of those things where, like, all right, if somebody asked me how to describe this, it'd be one of those situations where I'm like, you just have to listen to it.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was the goal. So that's perfect.
Okay, and can you talk about how that came together? Because I'm actually really interested in that EP.
Yeah, for sure. So he is in another hip hop / R&B group in Buffalo called Free Music Party, and he plays instruments for them and mixes and produces for them. And I had known him through Free Music Party for a while. And T, the guy I was in Freak the Mighty with, he was making like pop, hyper pop type of music about a year ago. And Luno J, the producer of The Dramatic, he was making similar music. So like I knew that, and I kind of linked them together to do some work together, and they did, and it came out real cool. And just from that, I knew Luno, and I had another mutual friend with him that wanted me to get on a song with him that was produced by Luno. So I went to record that song like at Luno's place, and after we recorded, he was like, "Hey, I got a couple beats that you might be interested in." And the first one was our song called Dead Air. So we made Dead Air, and it was fun. Like we loved it. And at the time, we only planned on doing Dead Air. We maybe discussed doing a couple other ones, but Dead Air was so cool and so fun to make. Like Luno came to me, and I was thinking the same thing he was. He was like, "Look, I think we got to do like a whole project together," So it took about like 6 months to like really finish it all, just with the writing, the recording of it, the mixing of it, the planning, how we were gonna even like put it out. But it came together pretty well.
And can you talk about is it Chango 4 or
Chango 4? Yep, Chango 4.
Yeah, because I tried to go look at the Instagram, but it said it didn't exist. So I'm like, who is this person?
Yeah, it's funny enough, they just lost their Instagram like a week ago.
Oh,
they
wow,
just had
okay.
to make a new account, so that's probably why I couldn't find them. But Chango is just another like Buffalo legend that I've had the privilege of working with. Like kind of like an older sibling to me. They've been a good friend of mine. They sing, they rap, they produce music, they're a DJ. They're also involved in something called Bika. It's like a Buffalo art school, and they do a lot of work in the community. And Luno had made that instrumental that Chango was on, and it was always meant to come after the song Love You Right, kind of like it's just like a little intermission in the middle of the EP. And when I first heard it, I was like, man, I immediately heard Chango's voice. I was like, their voice would sound fucking perfect just speaking over this instrumental. And I didn't exactly know what I wanted them to do. I just know I wanted their voice on it. So I linked with Django and I played them the instrumental, and I was like, you know, if you rock with it, like I just want you to do whatever the hell you want on it. You know, you can talk, you can sing, like whatever comes out. And Django had a poem that they had already written a couple months before that, and the way the poem sounded, it just fit perfect with the instrumental. So we lit some incense, and then they did their thing and recorded the track.
Hell yeah, that's sick. They did a great job. And I'm also curious about Landon Morris. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, yep. My guy Landon. Yeah, he's a designer in Buffalo, and we actually, like 2 years ago, a mutual friend asked me if I would do a photo shoot wearing some of Landon's designs, and it never happened. It fell through, and I never even met Landon myself. And then a year had passed, and last summer I went to get like a smoothie on a Sunday morning and bumped into him, and he was like, "Hey, we were supposed to do something together." He was like, "Why don't you come by my studio? Like I'm working on like he was doing like a fall design." So I went by, and he had like the craziest shit. Like I guess the best way you can describe it, I guess, is avant-garde. But he does construction, so he incorporates that into his designs within fashion. So he'll take like a bunch of crazy different material and just like make crazy shit with it. And I modeled for him for like an upcoming some upcoming designs that he's dropping. Like I modeled for him, man. After doing that and like listening to the music that me and Luno had together, I had actually saw a picture that Landon put up on his Instagram, and it was this guy wearing what I'm actually wearing on the cover of the Dramatic. And for some reason, like the picture just reminded me of the music. And I was like, man, if I could wear that like on the album cover or like just in promotional photos, like I think that would be a perfect way to accompany the music, you know? So after doing the shoot with Landon, I just asked him if he would, you know, design something for us, or if he had any other spare designs in the past that we could potentially use for the cover. And he loved what we played in the project. He loved it. And yeah, he let us use his designs, which is really cool.
And is that it right there behind you?
That is it. Yeah. I'll put it over the camera.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Shout out Landon. That's wild. And just it's all because of the smoothie, right?
Yeah, all because I wanted to get a smoothie on like a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, see, the timing, man. Just stuff like that just trips me out.
It's funny how life works. Like, you know, like if I didn't go get that smoothie, like me and him may have never linked up, and that may have never been the cover of, you know, our project. Like, who knows what would happen. Yeah. And it's cool too. He's just, man, that guy's crazy. He just actually got a Urban Outfitters collab for of like some t-shirts and pants and hoodies he made. Like, he's doing some crazy shit for sure.
100%. I like, you know, when I was looking at, you know, who did the design and stuff, and I went and I kind of looked to see what he was up to, and I'm like, oh, dang, he's over here on, you know, Urban stuff's kind of pricey too. So, and it's actually
yeah, right?
Cool pieces too. Cause I was looking at it, I was like, damn, this is like stuff that I would rock.
Yeah. No, he's good.
Okay. And can you talk about, there's a YouTube channel, 22 Reform. They had that.
Yep.
Yeah. 22. Yeah, they had that. You know, I guess it was like a promo video for the Dramatic.
Yep, that's my homie Lukeman. He's another just absolute Buffalo legend. He's just shot so many music videos and short films. Like I actually went to high school with him, and when we were doing Freak the Mighty, he wanted to film a show for us. And then after that, we did our first music video was shot by Lukeman. So I've been working with Lukeman, and I've known him for years now. And everything he does is just of a certain quality. And when we were thinking of ways to promo the tape, I was like, man, it'd be cool to one, take some pictures in Landon's designs, but if we had Luke to you know, film it all how he did and kind of make it just a promotional video for it, it would have been perfect. And that's what he did. Luke's crazy.
Yeah.
And Luke, yeah, he runs 22 Reform, so that's that's his Bays and company.
Yeah, after seeing the promo video, I was like, man, I wish you would have shot like a full on music video for you guys.
Oh right, hey, we're still gonna drop some videos for some of the songs in there, so we might be working the loop.
Okay, my favorite song off the EP is "Love You Right."
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, so I'm hoping maybe that's one of the videos you guys are working on.
Yeah, love you right, and there's another song in there called Holy Ghost. Those are the two that we're aiming to do some visuals for.
Okay, and can you talk about what the release was like for the Dramatic? Because you guys had like a little show, or was it a party?
Yeah, we did. We had a show at the same place that Jeweltone is doing our show at next week. It's really cool. It's called Black Dots. It's this record store in Buffalo, but in the back they have a bar and like a venue space. And the Triple Hammer guys, actually, a lot of them work there, and I'm not sure if they own it, but like Black Dots is Triple Hammer territory, like all the way, you know.
Okay.
So for the Dramatic, we had wanted to do a release show, but we wanted to do something cool. We wanted to do like a free event and just get as many people there as possible, and just do something unique. Like I didn't just want to like stand up there and rap. We wanted to make it more of an experience. So we actually had Jordan open up with a Dream House set, which was perfect. Like he absolutely set the tone, and we made some visuals to kind of go along with the performance and like change at certain parts of the project. So we had the visuals going. In the middle of it, I changed out out the outfit I was wearing and put on the vest that Landon made. It was cool. We packed it out. Way more people than I thought was going to come, which is awesome. You always love to see that. Packed it out, had my homie Aaron film it, had some people taking pictures, and it was just a successful event to like coincide with the release. So it was cool.
And is that footage that Aaron filmed, is that out there anywhere?
Yeah, he actually made like a recap video. It's on my page right now.
But speaking of, sorry, is there going to be like a full set release or anything?
Yeah, we will. We're gonna put that up on YouTube for sure.
Okay.
Full set. Yep.
All right. And then you mentioned, was it Bika earlier?
Yep.
And just looking off your Instagram, you performed at one of their events recently. Can you talk about, what that was about?
Yeah, I actually did. Like just last weekend, somebody who attends Bika, his name is Nick Moss. He puts together these events called Foursquare, where it'll be 4 acts. But then, like outside, he'll actually have like 4 square tournaments going. He'll have like 4 different games you can play inside, 4 different vendors, and it's been a cool event that he's been running in Buffalo for I think the last year or so. So yeah, he was actually at our release show for the Dramatic, and that's when he asked me to do the Foursquare event. Cool dude, and like man, that space we did the Foursquare show at in Bika. So Bika has more so like an art gallery side to it. And I had been there before, but last week was my first time performing there. And they have they call it the Bika Garage. And the garage was like a beautiful setup. Probably one of my favorite venues I've ever performed at. Just art and graffiti and sculptures hanging from the walls and the ceiling. It was a really cool space.
That's awesome. Because honestly, when I think of Buffalo, I think of obviously like the Buffalo hardcore scene, like the bands that my friends play in. I think of bands like bands like Rhinoceros. But then when I, am, hearing you speak about, like this whole other, subculture, I was like, man, like Buffalo is probably way cooler than, what I actually think it is.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. I feel like with Buffalo, every year there's something new that kind of pops off, like just within the arts, like this last year, fashion has been really big here. Like that was never of course there's always been designers, right? But this year there's been so many runway shows and so many new designers popping up and models popping up, and a lot of people are getting a spotlight, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, and it seems like there's just like this real like positive like community driven thing going on out there, because I feel like without that, which I think is really important, like a lot of that stuff that you're a part of, a lot of things that we've talked about, wouldn't be going on. Yeah,
I agree, and I'm excited to see kind of how it's already starting to happen, but how they all kind of intermingle and just make its own like ecosystem,
yeah, maybe get a hardcore band at the next Bika Foursquare.
Yeah, for real, right?
Yeah, because I'm just throughout my years in hardcore, I feel like hip hop's always been connected to hardcore, right? And
Yep.
I don't know why I was surprised when I found out so many people who listen to hardcore also listen to hip hop, but then also just knowing that even people big rappers even know about hardcore.
Yep. There's well, first I'll say like Donnie's done an amazing job at like integrating hardcore, especially with hip hop and just other scenes. Like Donnie was the one that put together all those hip hop hardcore shows. The one that I to this day, this might be my favorite show I've ever performed at. It was with Freak the Mighty. It was called Secret Subculture. Donnie and the Buffalo hardcore community put it together. It was us, another hip hop group called Spacebound, Chango 4 actually, Chango 4, and then it was Final Declaration, Exhibition, and Smash and Grab, and it was like in his garage almost in North Tonawanda, which is really pretty much Buffalo. It's close to Buffalo, and it was a summer show, and it was just packed out. It was like one of the first big shows for hip hop or for hardcore post COVID. Like prior to that, there wasn't many events going on because everything that happened. So this was just like everybody was back outside, and it was just like the perfect day, the perfect performances, and that like just even being able to successfully like put that together and have. Because normally when you see when you see mixed genre shows, like the people that are there for one thing, a lot of them are going to walk out the room when the other thing comes on, It's naturally how it goes. But this show was different. Like everybody was engaged for everything, we were all so excited to be back outside, but it just goes to show like just the effort that, the hardcore community put into even arranging a show like that had such a good feeling to it that everybody just wanted to participate and be there and just have a good time with each other,
Yeah, 100%. There used to be this thing that happened out here. It was called like Nature's World, and like I remember one year Trash Talk and like Soulja Boy performed. It was not the same show, but it was like one of those things where that like the people, like everyone there understood like, okay, like this is a mixed bill, but everybody still supported every act. It wasn't like anybody walked out. Everybody was there. Like they were going just as crazy for Soulja Boy as like they were for like Trash Talk.
Yeah. I gotta say too, that's one, like, of course there's major differences with hip hop and hardcore, and one thing I've noticed from the hardcore community that's really different in hip hop, like performing with Jeweltone, it's so supportive, and people are genuine, and like you need to respect every band performing. I feel like for the most part, everybody is understanding of that and with it, and it doesn't necessarily feel competitive. You know what I mean? Like I can let my guard down and have a good time. Whereas hip hop, I love hip hop, but there's this competitive energy to like most hip hop events and shows. You know what I mean? Like it's not necessarily going to be as like encouraging. So sometimes you got to walk. Just to protect yourself, you kind of everybody has to walk with their chest puffed out. You know what I mean? And that's been like one major difference that I've loved, like being involved in hardcore, where it's like, oh, okay, like people here genuinely want to like see each other and want to connect, and we want to have a good time here. Like there's no bad energy in
there. 100%. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Cause, out here, it's like a hardcore show. Obviously way more friendly, but when we're going to the hip hop shows, we got to mind our P's and Q's. It's not as friendly.
yeah. For sure.
And I'm also curious too. How do you know Donnie?
Donnie I can't tell you the first time I met him. Like I just don't remember. But Donnie like is just somebody who he pops out everywhere. Like he shows love to everything that he could possibly show love to going on around in the city. And his wife Gabby, she's a DJ around here too, so she's also super tapped in. So I've just through the years of performing with Freak the Mighty, I've just met them and known them. And Donnie was a fan of Freak the Mighty, and my other friends, they're in a rap group called Spacebound. He was a fan of Spacebound, and he was the one where it was like, look, I want you guys to do some of these hardcore shows with us. We can put together mixed bills. And actually one night he came over and he tattooed all of us. Like Donnie's just been, Donnie's a good dude to so many people within many different scenes in Buffalo, so I just knew him through that.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear, because for as long as I've known Donnie, he's always been good to me, never done me wrong or made me feel weird or any type of way. It's always just been support, and I'm just very happy to see Space out there doing crazy shit.
Yeah, they're killing it. They're killing it. It's been crazy to watch how they've grown. I think it's been, I don't know the exact time. I want to say they've been active for the last 3 years, maybe 4, but they've gone on an absolute run. Like seeing how many, and they work their ass off. They've done so many European tours. Like they'll go on a tour, and 2 weeks later, like they're back in a row doing another one. They've just been putting in the work. They have so much love and respect around here, and they all give back to the community. Like they're at every show. Like they're in the pit. They're putting shows together. They're putting people on. Like Space absolutely holds it down for sure.
Yeah, and that's what I love to see, right? Because I'll never forget hearing the demo for the first time and thinking like, damn, this band is special. They definitely have it. And then fast forward to now, and it's like, yeah, just like you said, going overseas every year multiple times, and then just always killing it in the States, and then you mentioned giving back to the scene. I feel like that's really important, right? To not only be active in hardcore, but to give back to your local scene, and to be able to do stuff like that. Put on shows, start new bands, and stuff like that is really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And then as far as, other music, do you have time to, maybe work on another band or work on more solo stuff?
Oh man, that definitely not another band. That's one big challenge of doing hip hop and hardcore at the same time, because I'm kind of just firing off on both. Like one doesn't necessarily get prioritized over the other. I'm just trying to do them both as much as I can, but then, also gotta, work a full-time job and be there for family and friends and whatnot. So I'm definitely I wouldn't say spread too thin, but it's a challenge I love, like doing both of them. But I definitely couldn't do something else on top of that,
Mm-hmm.
Because every day I'm actively, if I'm not rehearsing with Jeweltone or like putting together songs or practicing, I'm sitting right here, writing and recording raps, So yeah, that's all I got the time for, just doing both of those.
For sure. And for the dramatic, any chance of any more performances with that, or are you guys going to chill with that?
Yeah, we'll definitely be performing it more. I'm actually doing, I think I'm doing a Juneteenth show in Buffalo. We have a Juneteenth festival every year. So me and Lino are definitely going to perform dramatic there. I'm doing a hip hop set at a festival called Flow in Buffalo at the end of the summer. So we'll definitely be doing dramatic there as well. And we're also hoping to take it to a couple other cities. I would love to perform in Brooklyn or even Canada, like doing some of the dramatic songs. I feel like we really want to get out to New York and do some shows there. I think that would be a great scene to like test that music out in you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. I feel like you could get out there with that. And so I feel like as hard as you want to take it, you could get there.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. And the Juneteenth, that's on a Wednesday this year, right?
Yeah, but I'm not sure the exact day is on, but the festival itself, though, it'll be like on Saturday.
Okay, so not on the actual day, but like that weekend.
Yeah, yep.
Got it. That's awesome. Okay. And I'm also just curious, as far as your local scene, like what bands are you like hyped on these days?
Man, Selfish Act is just absolutely killing it right now. I'll say Selfish Act. There's I don't know have you heard of Monomaniac? No,
I'm not familiar.
Yeah, Monomaniacs. I love Monomaniac because I don't know how old they are, so I don't want to say anything that's may not be true, but they're all way younger than us, and they're just like, they're going crazy. So I would say Selfish Act, Monomaniac, Fatal Visions, obviously they're just absolutely killing it and holding it down.
Mm-hmm.
Bad Blood, Final Declaration, they're legends around here. Spaced, obviously. Holdout, shout out my guy Mark Miller, he runs the Nickel City podcast. Me and Christian actually did an interview with him. Holdout's killing it. Science Man, there's a new hardcore band called Do Crime. So yeah, those are the guys I'm rocking with right now. I'm sure I'm forgetting some people too.
Okay, yeah, I got to check out a lot of those because I'm not familiar, but I'm always down to check out new music.
I'll send you some pages.
Hell yeah, no, please do, because I always love to ask, like, yo, like, what's going on locally, because I'm like I always say, I always try to be as tapped in as I can, but things always kind of slip by the radar, so it's always easy for me to ask. I know some people might think they're too cool to ask, but I don't care. I'm down to soak up the knowledge.
Yeah, no, I mess with that, and I get it. There's so many. I just named like 10 bands for this Buffalo alone. It's probably like, I get how it's hard to keep up. Just in general across the board, like there's so many bands popping up.
For sure.
Yeah,
no, 100%. There's always new bands, even sometimes in my area. Like I'll be talking to some homies and they'll be like, oh, like, have you heard so and so? I'm like, what the hell is that? So then I'll start asking for links. So yeah, it's definitely like things are always moving everywhere. So so that's why I always just kind of made it a habit to just reach out and just try to get the info from the local people, because there's things that are popping up that people probably not even heard of. So like there's a band that played their first show yesterday from out here called Big Ass Truck, and there's not a lot of people talking about them, but I feel like they're gonna catch on. Yeah, big Ass Truck.
I like that a lot. That's hard.
Yeah, they're pretty sick. But yeah, there's always new bands. Like it's crazy, right? Because like you're a new band, but then you're competing with all the other new bands, but then you're already also competing with like all the established bands. So to be able to get people's attention, right? Like you either got to just post that tweet at the right time randomly, or just hope that somebody just discovers it through like random means like YouTube or Spotify or whatever. But
yeah, no, that's always. For me, that's even with hip hop too. That's like a tough challenge. Like obviously, you want to be out there and as known as possible. But I do think that thinking about that too much kind of like just distracts from like what's right in front of you. You know what I mean? So like with Jeweltone and even with my own hip hop stuff, like of course I'll put all the work in and effort in, but I do my best to be like hands off with expectations or like trying to get in front of too many people. Like if it's gonna happen, if it's gonna happen, it'll happen as long as the work's being done.
Yeah, for sure. Because once you put it out there, you don't really have any control, right? It's out there, and people are either gonna rock with it or they're not, and you can only do so much. So I try not to stress out about like, oh my god, are people gonna like this episode? Are they gonna hate it? I just as long as I like it, I'll put it out. I feel like there's maybe like one or two episodes that I've ever recorded that I didn't put out. So
what's that? Just curious. What's that process like? Like how do you like determine that and make that decision? You know what I mean?
I can talk about one since it's like so far gone and I don't even talk to this person anymore, but I was maybe I'm saying too much. Fuck it. I was in this Animal Crossing group chat, right? Are you familiar with the video game Animal Crossing?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so I was in this Animal Crossing group chat, and there was this girl in there. She was just like, hey, like can I go on the podcast? I was like, sure, we can go. You can come on. I don't care. So she came on the podcast, but she was like, she just kept telling stories about like getting drunk at Warped Tour and like hooking up with like a bunch of random guys. But I'm like, dude, like I'm friends with your boyfriend. Your boyfriend listens to the podcast. I don't think this is going to be a good look for you to be putting this all out there. So I just had to just not put it out there because I just felt weird, right? Because I was just like, dude, like you're not, and like I don't think she realized that she was like kind of just like not painting herself in the best light, because I was like, I don't think anybody really wants to hear these stories of you just being kind of trashy. And also I was like, I respect her boyfriend. So I was like, I just don't want to do that to him either. So I just quietly just kind of, just tucked it away.
Yeah, no, totally reasonable. Sure.
Yeah. And she was upset, but it's just like, dude, like, you're going to hate me now, but you'll thank me in the long run. So I was like, I'll take the heat. But just trust me, it wasn't a good listen. Cause it's just like, yeah. Cause like I'm hearing it and I'm feeling dirty, and I'm just like, dude, like, I don't think you want people to hear this. So just chill.
Yeah. I get that.
Yeah. So that one was really bad. So I was just like, yeah, let me save both of us.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it's rare. Like I said, there's only been like 2 that have never made it out, like, due to my judgment, right? There's been like times where like I recorded a podcast with a homie, and I don't know what had happened, but like maybe I didn't like have like a mic cable plugged in all the way, but there was like this weird crazy static for the whole episode, and I didn't hear it till after the fact when I was like editing the audio, and it was just unsavable. There was just no way that you could put it out and listen to it clearly. So there's been like some technical issues like that. But in terms of like, just like me just not wanting to put something out, it's only been like 2.
Okay. That's good. I mean, hey, that's a good ratio.
Yeah. And I always tried to just, tell people like, hey, like, when we do these things, like, I just want it to just be a conversation. Like, I don't have, any questions written down. I just feel like the best is just talking to the person and just kind of feeding off like each other's energy, because that's just the natural conversation, right? Because if I was sitting here reading you, all right, next question, it would just, I feel like it wouldn't seem like a real conversation, and it might not be presenting yourself, or might not, people might not be able to get like a good representation of really who you are.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because I could do that, right? I could have a list of questions and be like, all right, next one. But that's just weird. I don't like think that's a good conversation to listen to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I feel that for sure.
Yeah, but I enjoyed our time today, and I appreciate you working with the schedule. So thank you. But before we sign off, is there anything else you would like to say?
No, man, just shout out Buffalo Hardcore, and everybody that has helped out and shown up for Jeweltone. Like, means a lot, and I'm excited to get out more music for everybody. It's been a while, and I think everybody will be excited for what we got coming.
All right. Well, I'm very much looking forward to the next chapter for Jeweltone. Like I said, I'm a huge fan. Love the demo, and I hope for everyone who has gotten to this point is also a fan too. So I appreciate your time today, Neff. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll be back soon. Goodbye.
All right.